The young man had just finished his warm-up when he noticed an inmate approaching with a threatening gaze. Sensing something amiss, he looked around and noticed the guards were deliberately avoiding his eye contact, while the two approaching inmates revealed sharpened toothbrush shanks and crude knuckle dusters, making him suddenly understand what was happening. He calmly walked over to the barbell, picked up his clothes, then removed a weight plate and secured it using his clothes. Any tool could become a lethal weapon in his hands, thanks to his excellent skills, against which the inmates couldn't gain any advantage. In just the time it takes to smoke half a cigarette, the whole group had been knocked to the ground by him. This ruthless man is named Armando, 25 years old this year. In the movie Bad Boys 3, manipulated and led by his own mother Aretas, he murdered many elite police officers involved in the anti-cocaine campaign. Even veteran Captain Howard lost his life at his hands. Although he later acknowledged his father-son relationship with Mike, the crimes he committed were unforgivable, and he was ultimately put in prison by Mike himself. In the blink of an eye, for years had passed, Mike, now over 50, had also found his life's harbor. He married Dr. Christine, who had cared for him in the third installment, and the two entered into a blissful marriage. Everyone once thought Captain Rita might end up with Mike, but it turned out she became the lover of Miami Mayor Adam. The two attended Mike's wedding together, accompanied by Howard's daughter Judy and granddaughter Callie. Marcus enthusiastically introduced the two to everyone and even invited little Callie up to say a few words. Everyone raised their glasses to wish the couple 100 years of happiness. Immediately after, the music started and all the guests began to immerse themselves in dancing on the floor. Marcus danced with extreme energy and was also the most prominent in the crowd. He was giving his all to the dance moves, but suddenly his expression became extremely painful, and he slowly collapsed onto the floor. Seeing this, Mike rushed over to perform emergency aid on the unconscious Marcus. In his dream, Marcus saw himself standing on a deserted beach, and he saw the deceased Howard there. Howard told Marcus it wasn't his time to die yet, then walked over to Marcus and whispered a few words in his ear. Marcus beamed with a radiant smile. Immediately after, he also woke up from his hospital bed with a smile on his face. As Marcus stood on the rooftop feeling the joy of being alive again, a helicopter was slowly landing on the roof. In the darkness on the other side of Miami City, the person stepping off the plane was Mexico's most notorious cocaine kingpin, James. Accompanying him was Walker, from a bank specializing in laundering money for cocaine cartels. As soon as he entered the room, James immediately threw a business card onto the table, showing a picture of the late Howard. James demanded Walker transfer a sum of money into Howard's bank account. Saying that, he called Walker's girlfriend closer and threatened that if Walker didn't comply, he would tell Walker's wife about his affair. Seeing this, Walker submitted and immediately transferred $20 million into Howard's bank account, as James requested. After the transaction was complete, James ruthlessly dealt with Walker, and even his girlfriend could not escape her fate. The next morning, while exercising, Mike suddenly received a notification on his phone. He opened it and saw the screen flooded with sensational news. They reported that while in office, Howard had colluded with cocaine traffickers, bringing large quantities of cocaine into the U.S. and earning enormous profits from illegal activities through this. Seeing this news, Marcus and Mike immediately went to the police station and barged into an important meeting because they didn't believe Howard could do such a thing. But FBI Director Grice asserted that everything was already clear. They had compiled all the cocaine smuggling cases over the years and found that the clues all pointed to Howard. Grice stated that 2 weeks ago, the money launderer for the cocaine cartel died due to a love affair dispute, and they found his phone at the scene. It contained contact information and chat messages with Howard, along with information about an overseas bank account. Even with such clear evidence, Marcus and Mike still didn't believe Howard was a traitor. Mike even almost got into a fight with Grice over it. Seeing the situation escalating, Rita immediately separated the two. Just then, Howard's daughter Judy entered as her father's heir. She wanted to demand knowing the source of the allegations against him. Mike stepped forward intending to advise Judy not to get involved, fearing it would affect her career, but Judy paid no attention. If it wasn't for your goddamn son, my father would still be alive. If I see him on the street, I swear, in my father's name, I definitely won't let him live. Humbled by Judy, Mike angrily left the meeting room, dragged away by Marcus. Now the two had clearly defined their goal, to investigate the truth themselves, to restore justice for Howard. They decided to start with Mike's son, the former cocaine dealer. At the federal prison in Florida, he met Armando, who had been serving his sentence for 4 years. Through their conversation with Armando, they learned that Howard had never colluded with the cocaine traffickers, but was actually secretly investigating them. The reason he was put on Arredes's assassination list was because someone within the police force wanted him dead. Armando said he had met that person once, but didn't know his name. However, while Mike and Marcus were gathering information from Armando, James's side was also frantically searching for the incriminating evidence hidden by Howard. His subordinate hacked into the deceased Howard's phone and computer and discovered both devices had relatively weak encryption layers. Just as he was rejoicing at having cracked the password, the computer unexpectedly sent a file automatically. The person who received the file was Mike. This was a secret message Howard had left for them before his death. According to what he said in the video, Howard already knew he wouldn't live much longer because a traitor had appeared within the police department, and the key to solving the case was someone nicknamed Cola Giant. The video also ended abruptly here. What does he mean? Who is the Cola Giant? Fletcher. James had tracked the phone's location and identified the recipients as Mike and Marcus. Soon after, Mike and Marcus found their way to an art gallery in the suburbs and met Fletcher. Those who watched the first part know Fletcher was originally an inmate, but thanks to his superb computer skills, he was recruited by Howard onto his team. Mike and Marcus directly stated their reason for being there, but Fletcher deliberately evaded. He only said Howard had asked him to hide the file he had been investigating for a long time, but refused to reveal the specific location. This angered Marcus, who immediately drew his gun and pointed it at him. Fletcher understood their personalities well, so just as he was about to reveal the location where the documents were hidden, immediately after, the shooter was James. Marcus was the first to spot him retreating. James's henchmen opened fire to stop the two, and both sides quickly engaged in a fierce gunfight in the narrow corridor. Due to the complex internal structure, despite intense shooting for quite a while, neither side could gain the upper hand. However, the bravery and mettle of the two far exceeded their imagination, so the remaining men were forced to retreat. Seeing this, Marcus and Mike hurriedly gave chase, but the opponents got further and further away. Marcus decisively jumped onto the hood of a passing car, quickly closing in on the direction the robbers fled. Just then, as Mike was reloading, he suddenly felt dizzy, dropping the magazine to the ground. At the same time, James stepped on the gas, heading straight for Mike. The two could only watch helplessly as the cocaine traffickers and their accomplices calmly escaped right before their eyes. Afterward, the two returned to the art gallery. While agents were searching for clues, they happened to discover a QR code hidden in the mural. They scanned the QR code with the help of computer expert Dorn. They discovered another video left by Howard, in which he explained his investigation results in more detail. About 9 years ago, he discovered some high-ranking police officials had started cooperating with cocaine traffickers. He secretly investigated the matter, but whenever a critical moment arrived, someone would leak the information. Therefore, he asked 2 retired colleagues for help, but shortly after starting the investigation, both met with traffic accidents and died one after another. After that incident, Howard had considered letting Mike and Marcus take over the case, but worried for their safety, he abandoned the idea. Now that he was dead, finding the traitor could only be entrusted to them. Then, Howard used phrasing that no one else could understand to reveal where he hid the investigation report. After a moment's thought, Mike understood which location Howard meant. The next day, Armando, sitting in prison, also became a target of surveillance. And this is the context of the story's opening scene. After learning his son was attacked, Mike asked Adam to transfer his son to a safe place, because the information Armando knew could help them find the traitor. Adam, aware of the seriousness of the matter, hesitated for a moment, then agreed to Mike's request. Later, under police escort, Armando was put onto a helicopter. As soon as he boarded the plane, Mike and Marcus were stripped of all weapons and communication devices. Just as the plane took off, James and his subordinate appeared in the cockpit. Marcus sensed something was wrong, so he prepared to move forward to check the situation, but as soon as he arrived, he was kicked out by James. James used Mike's pistol to shoot down the escort team and opened the helicopter's rear cargo door. Mike lunged forward to grapple with James. Marcus also quickly began fighting with James's subordinate. During the struggle, the front windshield was shot-shattered, causing the helicopter to plummet rapidly towards the ground. A parachute accidentally deployed, pulling the cocaine trafficker out of the plane, but the battle between Mike and James was not over. James stomped on the cage control switch, throwing Mike out. He jumped off the plane and detonated a bomb attached to the engine, causing the helicopter to shake violently, and the safety strap securing the cage snapped. Mike rushed to grab the strap, and Marcus immediately dashed over to help, quickly taking the strap from Mike's hand. Mike quickly searched the dead guard for keys, and just as the cage sprang open. Fortunately, the area where the plane crashed was a lake, so all 3 were safe. Finally, they emerged from the water without danger. Soon after, Police forces arrived at the scene, but after checking the bodies, they discovered 3 people were missing, and those 3 were Mike, Marcus, and Armando. Combined with the recording James forced the pilot to read earlier, the police firmly believed Marcus and Mike were also involved in dealings with the cocaine traffickers. Thus, as commander, Judy ordered that these 3 must be brought to justice at all costs. The incident quickly caused a stir on social media. Even the forensic ballistics report proved that Mike was the one who murdered the escort team. The once Miami legends became wanted criminals everywhere, and the police mobilized enormous forces to hunt down all 3. News that the 3 had survived also reached James, so he immediately issued a kill order throughout the underworld, even offering a $5 million bounty for their lives. Mike and his team also understood that acting alone gave them no chance, so they sought out the bar owner who had helped them before to get a batch of weapons from her to deal with the upcoming crisis. The bar owner readily agreed, but as soon as all the customers had been cleared out, she immediately stood up, pointed a gun at Mike and his team, and then called for backup. Faced with a $5 million reward, who cares about worthless loyalty anymore? The 3 were thus escorted outside by the arriving gangsters. As soon as they were out the door, they immediately discussed an escape plan, but just as they were about to make their move, another group of gangsters arrived. The 3 immediately jumped into a nearby van. The leader of this group was Manny, the guy Mike had beaten badly in the 3rd installment. He was extremely agitated, immediately raising his gun and aiming straight at them. Marcus frantically started the van, ramming straight into Manny and pinning him against the opposite vehicle. Armando smashed the window, firing wildly outside, seizing the opportunity to light a Molotov cocktail and throw it down from above. Marcus kept hitting the gas, continuing to drive away, but due to limited visibility, the vehicle swerved erratically. Armando accidentally caught fire, so the father and son duo hurriedly worked together to extinguish the flames. At this time, Judy had also led the police team to the scene after receiving the report. She immediately recognized the person who murdered her father. The fire in the van had also reached the engine compartment. Hearing Marcus's scream, everyone immediately jumped out of the vehicle instantly. Finally, surrounded by police and gangsters, they once again narrowly escaped. Afterward, the group sought out the hacker Dorn. Based on the clue Howard provided, as long as they scanned the data in the police system, they could find leads on the cocaine trafficking gang, because Armando had met them once before. So, over the next period, they printed out all the photos of suspicious individuals for Armando to identify. After continuous effort, they finally found the person they were looking for. Dorn quickly looked up information on this person. His name was James Lockwood, and he came from the Army Ranger Academy. Before 2005, he was deployed in Mexico and participated multiple times in anti-cocaine operations. However, during one mission, he was unfortunately captured and tortured by cocaine traffickers, forced to betray his comrades. As a result, besides him, the entire team perished. Ultimately, he joined the cocaine cartel and has been working for them ever since. After learning this, Mike immediately called Rita to report all the new information. But their call was accidentally seen by Adam. Rita casually mentioned Mike and his team's discovery, unaware that it would cause huge trouble. As soon as the call ended, Dorn discovered through the surveillance system that a group of fully armed assassins was already outside Mike's and Marcus's houses. He immediately called the 2 to check the situation. Both were shocked witnessing this scene. They hurriedly took out their phones to warn their families to evacuate, but Mike called repeatedly with no answer. After Marcus contacted his son-in-law Reggie, he told him to immediately take the family and hide. Receiving the news, Reggie quickly hid his wife and mother-in-law in the walk-in closet, then grabbed a gun from the safe. At this time, Mike's phone still couldn't connect, and soon the group of assassins had snuck into Marcus's house. The experienced former Marine Reggie took action with extremely skilled techniques, moving flexibly combined with precise tactical movements, quickly taking down all 9 gunmen who had just entered the house. Mike, watching through the monitor, couldn't help but cheer excitedly. But at this moment, Mike still couldn't contact his wife. Just then, someone knocked on his door. It turned out to be Callie, Howard's granddaughter. The 2 had just exchanged a few words when Christine saw the phone on the table and immediately picked it up. Unfortunately, it was too late. James and his accomplices had quietly broken into the house. James picked up the phone dropped on the floor and told Mike, "If you want your wife and Callie to survive, bring Armando for an exchange, and you must also hand over all the evidence Captain Howard hid." This condition put Mike in a difficult position. He couldn't accept sacrificing either his wife or his son. Mike didn't understand why things had developed to this point, but then he suddenly realized he had just called Rita, and immediately after, James also began his move. How could it be such a coincidence? Did Rita leak the information? Not Rita, but her taste in men is really terrible. Mike immediately called Rita, telling her Adam might be the traitor. Rita was instantly stunned after hearing this. But after hanging up, she still tried to remain calm, telling Adam the case had a new development and she needed to go out immediately. Hearing this, Adam offered to go with her. Seeing Adam still texting, Rita snatched the phone from his hand. Knowing he was exposed, Adam no longer needed to hide and attacked Rita furiously. The two began to fight fiercely in the elevator, but because Rita was a woman, she couldn't match Adam's strength. And just as she was about to suffocate, Dorn and Kelly arrived just in time to reinforce and quickly subdued Adam. When he woke up, he had been taken to Mike and Marcus, and then they began planning the rescue of Christine and Callie. Soon after, James received a call made by Mike mimicking Adam's voice. They used a voice-changing system, saying something roughly like this. Because James messed up, causing everything to be exposed, they now had to leave immediately. Christine and Judy's daughter would be transferred to Cuba for long-term imprisonment, so Mike and Judy wouldn't dare act recklessly. He also promised they would use a seaplane to pick them up at dawn, then retreat together. After hearing this, James didn't suspect anything and immediately ordered his subordinates to pack up and prepare to move. Meanwhile, Mike's group also began arming themselves. This mission was extremely dangerous, but they absolutely had to succeed, not only rescuing the two hostages, but also eliminating the notorious cocaine kingpin James from this world. Everything was ready, so they boarded the seaplane heading towards James's island base. Armando pioneered, piloting a submersible to approach underwater. Dorn and Kelly monitored from outside and used a drone to provide real-time updates on the battle situation. As soon as the plane reached the abandoned amusement park area, they immediately spotted a sniper up high and simultaneously faced a new challenge. According to the data, the water area around the park had alligator activity. At this time, the seaplane also began landing near the park. Adam was forced off the plane because he was a crucial element in the plan. As soon as Adam appeared, James also brought out the hostages and all his subordinates from the amusement park. They were completely unaware this was a trap. Mike in the plane's cabin had already raised his sniper rifle, looking through the scope as the target gradually approached, but he was extremely tense. At this moment, James seemed to sense something unusual, so he abruptly stopped on the bridge. Immediately after, the water surface suddenly rippled violently. That's right, the alligator had appeared, and it was swimming towards where Armando was hiding. James immediately ordered his subordinates to approach and check. For Mike, this was the best shooting opportunity, but due to excessive tension, he couldn't aim accurately. At this time, James's subordinate had gotten close, so Armando was forced to shoot first. This forced them to implement Plan Christine, a direct assault. Dorn immediately controlled the drone to drop a bomb, causing the sniper on the rooftop to explode on the spot. With the threat eliminated, Mike and Marcus jumped from the plane, beginning their raid into the amusement park. Just at the critical moment, Mike's panic attack recurred, causing him to lose control of himself, which made Marcus extremely anxious. You motherfucker. This motherfucker, Mike. You understand? Motherfucker also means awesome. As soon as Marcus finished speaking, the two seemed extremely stimulated, charging into James's henchmen without fear and becoming terrifying killing machines. Dorn continued to control the drone, destroying the vehicle the enemy intended to use for escape, cutting off their escape route. Seeing the chaotic battle between the two sides, Adam seized the opportunity to force the pilot to fly him out of there. As soon as the plane took off, Rita raised a grenade launcher-equipped rifle, aiming straight at the plane. She fired one shot, damaging the wing and immediately causing the plane to shake violently. Armando had just shot the cocaine trafficker holding Callie when the plane suddenly crashed towards them. James was forcing the girl to walk past in front. Mike didn't hesitate, jumping straight down from the upper level, landing on the glass panel below. Immediately after, Marcus also jumped. As soon as they hit the water, the alligator scented them, swimming straight over, opening its mouth and clamping down hard on Marcus's arm. Seeing this, Mike grabbed a broken iron bar, dived into the water, and repeatedly struck the alligator's head hard. The alligator, having never encountered such ferocious prey, had no choice but to turn and flee. Just as the two escaped danger, Armando on the other side encountered trouble. As the two prepared to leave, they were surrounded by James's subordinates, forcing Armando to fight the thugs alone. Although he finally eliminated all the enemies, he himself was covered in blood and was ultimately helped away by Callie. The two reached the open ground outside the amusement park. While the others were cleaning up the remaining cocaine traffickers, Adam suddenly launched a surprise attack. Dorn was shot in the arm. The moment he saw Rita, Adam still held on to some illusion, but immediately after, he was sent straight into the alligator's jaws. The police received the alert and immediately rushed to the scene, still led by Agent Judy. After searching the surroundings, she unexpectedly picked up the bracelet her daughter dropped and followed the blood trail to search. While Marcus and Mike were cornering James, Marcus suddenly saw a scene identical to his dream right on the beach. Before he could be astonished, a gun was pointed straight at his head. When Mike arrived, he discovered Marcus had also become James's hostage. Holding the two people closest to Mike hostage, James became even more arrogant and insolent. He forced Mike to choose who died first, and it seemed when he said these words, he didn't understand Mike at all, because immediately after, Mike opened fire in resistance, resolving this threat. And it was precisely because of his stupidity that James lost his life. At this time, Judy had also approached Armando. At the critical moment, her daughter rushed out to shield Armando, because just moments before, Armando had risked his life to protect her. The little girl pleaded with her mother not to harm Armando. On one side was the feud of her father's murder, and on the other was a life-saving benefactor. After a period of internal struggle, Judy finally lowered her weapon. Seeing this, Callie rushed into her mother's arms, and Mike also immediately ran over to check his son's injuries. "Go, before I change my mind. Let's go." He helped his son onto the motorboat docked by the lake, handed him a card, told him to go south and never look back. Watching his son's retreating back, Mike's heart ached with pain. He didn't want his son to return to prison, so this was his only choice. And at the story's conclusion, all allegations against Howard were dropped, and those who had done wrong did not escape the punishment of the law. Mike and Marcus continued their legend and protected the city of Miami. The movie ends here. What are your thoughts on the film? Please leave a comment below the video. See you in the next video.